Welcome to News Beacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The world's longest undefended border just got a wall, not of steel, but of policy. On August 5, 2025, Canada closed a critical section of the Alaska Highway to all American traffic. This wasn't a weather closure. It was a calculated move that sent shockwaves from Washington to Juneau. Travelers were stranded, supply chains halted, and a diplomatic firestorm erupted. Why did this happen? For decades, Americans have driven through Canada to reach Alaska, a symbol of friendship now shattered. Canada cited urgent environmental and security concerns, but many Americans saw it as a hostile act. The timing was explosive, coming amid already strained relations. Headlines blared, "Canada shuts down Alaska access. Trump vows retaliation." The story dominated the news, becoming about sovereignty and the new, hard-edged reality of international relations. Images of American families and truck drivers turned away at the border became a potent symbol. The implications were huge, touching everything from vacation plans to national security. This is a fundamental test of the U.S. Canada relationship, about physical access to American soil. Canada used its geography as leverage, knowing it would provoke a strong reaction. The fact that they did it anyway shows how seriously they view their position. The stage was set for a confrontation of historic proportions. The world was watching as two old friends suddenly found themselves on opposite sides of a wall. The question now, what happens next? The answer would shape the future of North America. The border, once a symbol of trust, had become a line of friction. The era of easy friendship was over. To grasp the crisis, you need to understand the Alaska Highway. It's not just a road, it's Alaska's lifeline, stretching nearly 1,400 miles from British Columbia to Delta Junction. For many, it's the only practical way to drive to Alaska from the lower 48. Without it, Alaska becomes an island. This highway delivers groceries, building supplies, cars, and mail. Trucks carrying essentials travel it daily. Closing it means those trucks stop. Store shelves could go empty, construction halts, and costs soar. Shipping by sea or air is expensive and slow, a devastating blow for a state already facing high costs. The blockade traps people on both sides, separating families and shattering dreams. The Alaska Highway is a legendary road trip, a rite of passage for many. Now it's a nightmare of uncertainty. The route also has deep historical and strategic importance. Built during World War II, it connected the U.S. mainland to Alaska for military defense. That strategic value remains. Moving military personnel and equipment depends on it. Canada's decision isn't just economic or social, it's a national security issue for the U.S. The closure of this highway is more than an inconvenience. It's a direct threat to Alaska's stability. The stakes are enormous, and the pressure to resolve the crisis is mounting. The world is watching how America responds when its last frontier is cut off. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of connection, is now a flashpoint. The consequences will be felt far beyond the road itself. Why did Canada do this? Ottawa's official statement was blunt, unacceptable environmental degradation and security risks from American traffic. Recent incidents included hazardous spills, illegal dumping, and disrespect for Indigenous lands. Canada said it tried to negotiate stricter regulations and cleanup fees, but Washington delayed. The blockade, they claimed, was a last resort, a way to force the U.S. to take their concerns seriously. It's a sovereign nation protecting its land and listening to Indigenous communities long frustrated by heavy traffic. Behind the official reasons, deeper political motives are at play: a tense relationship, a need to assert sovereignty, and a message that Canada won't be taken for granted. The closure is also about respecting treaties and Indigenous rights. Canada is drawing a line, on the pavement and in the sand. This is more than policy, it's a statement of national identity. The world is watching how far Canada will go to defend its interests. The U.S. must now decide how to respond. The U.S. reaction was instant and explosive. Donald Trump took to social media, "Canada has closed the road to our great state of Alaska. This is a hostile act. This will not stand." He called for a boycott of Canadian goods, immediate tariffs, and even suggested using the military to escort Americans through Canada. Trump announced a Save Alaska rally near the border, turning the crisis into a populist cause. He urged truckers, bikers, and patriots to converge and show support. The message: this is a fight for American sovereignty and the working man. His rhetoric mobilized his base and put pressure on the current administration to act. The crisis became a political flashpoint, with Trump shaping the narrative and escalating tensions. The administration now faced a choice: match Trump's tone or risk looking weak. The diplomatic crisis had become a domestic political battle. The stakes were no longer just about a highway, they were about national pride. The world watched as America's response took shape. The pressure was on to act, and fast. The U.S. Canada relationship was suddenly on the line. The next move would define the future. Across the U.S., shock and anger erupted. The idea of Canada as an adversary felt like a betrayal. Families' travel plans were ruined, and businesses faced chaos. Politicians from both parties condemned Canada's move, especially Alaska's delegation. They demanded immediate federal intervention and threatened sanctions. The economic impact was severe: supply chains disrupted, costs soaring, and fears of shortages in Alaska. Trucking companies faced logistical nightmares, and consumers braced for higher prices. Beyond economics, there was sadness. The open border had symbolized a special relationship. Its closure felt like the end of an era, a door slammed shut. The crisis struck a nerve, uniting Americans in frustration. The sense of loss was palpable, and the demand for action was loud. The U.S. government faced mounting pressure to restore access. The world watched as America grappled with a new reality. The friendship with Canada was suddenly in question. The stakes had never been higher. From Canada's perspective, this was necessity, not aggression. Officials cited environmental damage, fuel spills, waste, and wildlife disruption. Public support in Canada was strong. Many felt the U.S. had taken their cooperation for granted. The closure was framed as temporary, meant to force negotiations for a new treaty. Canada proposed joint maintenance funds, tolls, and stricter inspections. Their goal: a modernized agreement that protects their land. Canada also claimed the diplomatic high ground, positioning itself as an environmental leader. The move resonated with allies and environmental groups. Canada's strategy was sophisticated: win support at home and abroad. The message: protect the Arctic, protect sovereignty. The world was watching to see if the gamble would pay off. With both sides dug in, the future looks tense. The U.S. demands immediate reopening. Canada insists on a new treaty first. It's a classic diplomatic standoff. The U.S. could impose tariffs or take legal action, but both options carry risks. Economic retaliation could hurt both countries. Legal battles would take years, offering no quick relief for Alaska. The worst-case scenario: a prolonged dispute that damages the entire U.S.-Canada relationship. More inspections, new fees, and a breakdown in cooperation could follow. The challenge: find an off-ramp without appearing weak. Skilled diplomacy is needed now, more than ever. The world is watching for signs of compromise. The next steps will shape the continent's future. The stakes are nothing less than the fate of North American unity. The blockade's impact goes far beyond a single highway. For Alaska, costs soar, and businesses face crisis. A recession looms if the closure drags on. Alaskans feel isolated, fueling long-term resentment. For Canada, the risks are real. Tariffs could cripple industries, and its reputation as a reliable partner is at stake. The crisis threatens North American security, straining cooperation on defense. Trust between neighbors is eroding. Globally, this dispute sets a precedent for using geography as leverage. The outcome will send a message to the world. Both nations are walking a tightrope. The ripple effects will be studied for years. The world is watching how two friends handle a crisis. The consequences will echo far beyond the border. What began as a dispute over a road is now a defining crisis for U.S.-Canada relations. Canada's closure, born of environmental and sovereignty concerns, has brought old tensions to the surface. The U.S. response, fueled by political fire, has been fierce. Both sides feel justified, making compromise difficult. The immediate future: high-stakes negotiations, economic threats, and political pressure. Progress depends on both sides talking without preconditions and softening their rhetoric. Economic pain could force a quicker solution. This is more than a story about a road, it's about two nations at a crossroads. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of connection, is now a symbol of conflict. How this is resolved will shape the future of North America. The friendship is on thin ice, and both countries must tread carefully.